Jason for Christmas. But for now, the question is, guys, I think we know the answer, but I'll ask it anyway. And I'll begin with you, Earl. Are the Browns a legit contender to make the Super Bowl?
I think 1,000% the Browns is a legit contender to make the Super Bowl. I sat here right here on this set in July and said I felt like the Cleveland Browns would be playing in the AFC Championship. And that's before I knew everything that would play out this season.
Yes.
That was with the expectation of Deshaun Watson balling out and things like that. With all the adversity that the Cleveland Browns have gone through, and to have 10 wins, fourth time since 1989, to be where they are, Joe Flacco playing the way they're playing, you look at the rest of the landscape of the AFC, I definitely think the Cleveland Browns are legit Super Bowl contenders. We can look at, if you look at the game last night between the Ravens and the 49ers, we clearly see that the Ravens is the best team in the NFL. The good thing about that to me is I know for a fact the Cleveland Browns can beat them with all things equal. And so when I just
now
look
we know
at
the Ravens can beat the Browns too.
With all things equal.
Yeah.
But when I look at everything, absolutely, I feel like the Cleveland Browns are legit Super Bowl contenders.
Tyvis?
I mean, yeah, they're absolutely Super Bowl contenders. I mean, like I say, given the things that they've been through and where they're at, and you look at the landscape, there's no dominant team in the NFL outside of maybe Baltimore. Baltimore do look legit on all phases of the game. But what I like about the Browns the most, where the Browns have the edge at over a lot of these teams, is that they've dealt with so many injuries that when something happens in the game, it is what it is. Like, all right, next man come in there, same results.
Right.
Whereas you see other teams, when somebody gets hurt, it's a scramble. Let's take the Texans game, for example.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have C.J. Stroud in there. We already knew that. They didn't have Will Anderson in there. And then a couple of guys get banged up in the course of the game.
Yeah.
Jimmy Ward goes down. They lose some corners.
They lost their other good pass rusher.
And they lost their other pass rusher.
Yeah, right.
So they lost like 3 guys in the course of that game,
Yeah.
and everything just fell apart. Nobody knew what to do.
Right.
To whereas Cleveland has it where, look, we done dealt with it this whole year, so the next person that goes in there is still, everything still clicks like that. And I think that right there is the advantage that they have. The one thing that I'm really interested to see with Baltimore is they've really been pretty healthy this entire season. They might have had a couple.
Except for Mark Andrews.
Yeah, except Mark Andrews. But outside of that, they've been pretty healthy. At
Yeah.
some point of this season, not wishing it on it, but at some point, it's just the nature of this game. Injuries is 100% going to happen to somebody in this game. They're going to deal with an injury, and I need to see how they respond to it because they haven't had to deal with it outside of Mark Andrews, which Isaiah Likely's been doing a really good job of coming in there and expelling them. But over the course of the playoffs, somebody's going to go down, and I need to see who the next person that comes in does the level of play drop off. We know with the Cleveland Browns, they can handle it because they've been doing it. So I think that's the one key advantage that they have over every other team in the NFL.
The Browns obviously are Super Bowl contenders. They're not Super Bowl favorites, but they're Super Bowl contenders with 100%. Everything about this season is weird. Nothing about this season makes sense. There's so many things about the Browns that if you hadn't watched this team all year and you just saw some of the statistics on paper, you'd say, no, of course this team's not a Super Bowl contender. There's so many things about them, but nothing about this season makes sense. And if you watch this team every week and you watch enough of the rest of the league, then clearly the Browns are a Super Bowl contender. I was thinking about this, like, if you picked playoff teams like they do in college football, if there was a college football, let's say the three of us
and we had to pick
are
the
the
top
college
4?
football playoff committee.
And we put the
Like,
4
would the
in.
Browns make top 4? I don't think they'd make top 4, but they'd make top, we're going to 12 now, and in the NFL you'd have more than 4. So I don't know. Would you have them in the top 4?
I'm sitting here
I
thinking
think I would have them just out of the top 4, but I'd have them in the top 8.
I have Baltimore.
Baltimore's 1.
You have to have Baltimore 1.
San Francisco 2.
49ers.
Right. Who's 3? Let me give you some possibilities. Browns, Chiefs,
No.
Not the
Dolphins,
Chiefs.
Cowboys. We can't just be prisoner moment. It can't just be just about the last
Eagles.
game. Or at least it shouldn't be. What?
Put the Eagles in there.
the
Eagles, Detroit. I'll tell you right now, and maybe I'm being a little prisoner
put
moment.
The
Detroit.
Browns is 3.
I would go Miami 3. I think I'd put the
I
Browns.
think I'll put Miami 3 too.
I would put the Browns 3 over. Well, I don't know, because they both got the same issues.
What if we
right?
going over
They
there?
both win at home. They're not, but the Browns have a better. No, I would go Browns 3. The Browns have a higher strength of percentage win versus Miami does, right?
Well, Miami never has only beat one team above 500.
Exactly. So that's why I would put the Browns 3.
Yeah, I just think I'm not looking. I'm looking at the teams. I think the Dolphins are a little more well balanced right now than the Browns because the The Browns can't run the ball. The Dolphins can run the ball. And but the Browns are in the conversation, certainly. I'm trying not to be biased. I have totally jumped on the Browns. I'm like really into rooting for the Browns more than I ever have before. And so I'm trying not to be biased. I think if I look at it from an unbiased perspective, I think I would have Miami 3. I think I would put at 4. I mean, it could be the Browns. I think I would put either the Browns, the Cowboys, or the Lions for me would be 4. I think the Browns are in the top 6. I'd have to think about it more to find out exactly where I put them, but they're in the top 6.
The only thing about the Browns that would make it hard for me to put them at the 4th is because they don't run the ball well and they turn the ball over.
Yeah,
that's
and
the two.
You would think eventually those things will catch
exactly.
up. I don't know if it will because it's just been such a wacky season, but those two problems, especially the turnovers, you'd think once they're playing better teams that will catch them at some point. Hopefully it won't, or hopefully they'll disappear in the playoffs.
Well, Joe Flacco's been doing. He's literally been. What he's doing is funny because he goes out there, he'll give it away. He he reminds me of a little bit like Jameis Winston back when he had that 30 for 30. He'll go out there and turn the ball over, but he also gonna get you a bunch of touchdowns. So it's like it'll make up for the interceptions.
That 1 year, Jameis had more turnovers than touchdowns.
No, I think he was 30 for 30.
It was 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions.
Joe's on the season. Joe Flacco has 10 touchdowns and 8 turnovers because I think he's lost a fumble or 2, right?
Right.
So I mean, listen, you're right. He lost 1 fumble. It's funny if you look at the numbers compared to Deshaun Watson, and at this point they've played about the same amount this year. Statistically, outside of the total yardage, where Flacco's way ahead of Watson, statistically they're real close. Like Watson's actually got a little better completion percentage. Watson's got 8 touchdowns, 6 turnovers. Joe Flacco 10 touchdowns, 8 turnovers. Their QBRs is similar. Flacco's is better. Their completion percentage similar. Watson's a little better. But I feel like watching them that Flacco's played significantly better than Watson.
What I mean,
I don't know.
I still think it has to do with the flow of the offense. I mean,
it's much better now.
It just seems like it's much better. And the interesting thing is that they're doing it with no run game, and that's
right. Flacco's being asked to do way more than Watson was.
Right, but when you think about Deshaun Watson and when he thrived, it was always 5 wide shotgun and let him do his thing. And we got to start seeing that towards the end before when he got hurt. But for the most part, they were still trying to figure things out. And I think with Kevin Stefanski and Joe Flacco, it's Kevin's stuff. I mean, literally, that's what he said in the postgame. They asked Joe Flacco about a play. You know what he said? He said, you have to ask Kevin Stefanski. Kevin comes up with that stuff. I just run what he calls. I don't know. That Kevin's the genius behind all of that. And I'm just like, they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, they are very much on the same page.
Exactly. And I think that's why, it looks the way it looks. And when things go wrong over a course of a game or when things need to be tweaked and adjust, it's easy because Kevin's like, this is my stuff. I can go out there and fix that easily. But when you're trying to mix and you're trying to do what Deshaun likes, you're trying to do what I like and trying to mix it, it's like, I don't really know how to fix it 100% like that yet because it's not my stuff. Same problem I think Joe Woods had last year on defense. I think that the reason that the defense looked bad is because, and I told y'all this so many times, I would come on this show and I would look at some of this stuff and be like, oh, that's easy. We could fix it just by doing this, this, and that. But it's like I know that defense. Joe Woods, when he was in Denver, they was a 2-man under team. Like they ran a lot of man-to-man.
Right.
When he went to San Francisco, he inherited that defense because Robert Saleh put it in. It was successful. They kind of taught it to him, and he just took it and ran with it over here. So he really don't know the ins and outs of that defense to be able to fix it like that. And I think that's the same thing we were seeing with Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson trying to mix what they like to do on offense together. It's like we don't really know how to fix it 100% yet because we don't know exactly what the final product is supposed to look like.
Good point.
It's funny, he talked about the flow of the offense. I think this was like 2 weeks ago. I was listening to Joe Thomas on Cleveland Browns radio network. He was on there with your boy Bo Bishop and Nathan Segura.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about Flacco being in New York with LaFleur and how LaFleur and Stefanski kind of comes from the same tree.
Yeah.
And a lot of what they run is similar.
Yeah.
And I think we underestimated how quickly Joe Flacco was going to be able to pick up this Browns offense and take off running with it. You see him getting better and more comfortable with this offense every single week. You see Kevin Stefanski as a play caller. Like I told Mike, man, my man's cooking with fish grease right now. It's like whatever he call is working. But I think more so than just the flow of the offense, it's that veteran leadership of understanding the little nuances, right? Understanding what the opposing defense is trying to do. Just the movement. It's just so many different things about what he's doing. And it has me like, damn, like just seeing him recognize the blitz, get the ball out quick, the one throw to David Njoku. It's just the veteran leadership, you know, understanding the flow of the offense. Kevin Stefanski with his play calling, and the Browns, like you said, they're doing all of this without a running game. Real quick, Tyvis alluded to, you know, guys get hurt, and, you know, we're just subbing guys in and we keeping this train rolling. You can really start to see the culture change in Cleveland, right? And I think that's why these things are happening. It's because we have a healthy culture to where you can legit just plug and play and keep it moving.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and, you know, it's funny because it seems like every week the Browns lose somebody on offense. And even this week the offense was fine. It was special team losing. But I said this yesterday on the show that obviously you don't want to see your kicker or punter get hurt, especially the kicker.
We lost both of them.
Lost both guys, right?
I've never heard of this. The
but
kicker
you know,
and the
I said
punter.
this on Monday, and I want your take on this, guys. I said there's a little part of Kevin that loves that he can't kick the ball.
I said that on the postgame
Yo,
show,
right?
That's
I said
facts,
that on the
though.
postgame show.
Right?
That's facts. Kevin probably somewhere like, yeah,
I
baby.
could go for every fourth
We
down.
only, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He was pretty decently successful without it. I mean, they got the 2-point conversion.
But that's the Bulls' point. He was like, he was licking his chops like, yeah, I get to play
you
Kevin
know,
ball.
I can't be criticized for going for two. I can't be criticized for not punting.
He said, I'm about to try
I
this.
have to do it.
He said, ooh, I'm going to try this. I ain't tried this all year.
I've been drawing this one up all year. Finally, I go.
He went deep into the playbook.
But you know the interesting thing, we talked about, you know how back when it was all about Kevin needs to give up play calling. He's calling these terrible plays.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Chiefs game? Did you see the reverse that got fumbled and got taken to the house?
I did not see that play.
All
I saw
right.
some of the game, but not the whole thing.
So the interesting thing is, the play didn't work and it resulted in a touchdown.
I know what your thought was.
And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I wonder if they're out there saying Andy Reid should give up play calling.
Andy Reid lost his
Don't
damn mind.
that sound absurd?
Yeah, right.
That's what we was dealing
Well,
with, though.
and right now, if anybody said take Kevin Stefanski, you should give him the play calling, you'd be like, what are you, an idiot?
That's what I'm saying.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
It's
That's
just-
you're right.
Have y'all noticed even the stuff that didn't work, fans is not complaining no more?
No.
Like we had a couple drives where
Well,
we
'cause
went
they
3
win.
and out and punted, and now all of a sudden nobody is questioning anything that Kevin Stefanski
I think
calls.
people realize, like, given the circumstances, he's done a great job with the circumstances, which is I've been trying to say all year. Like, this man is dealing with, he doesn't have his horses. He has nobody, and he's still finding a way to make things happen. You can try to give it to AVP. I don't know if AVP is, I'm not going to say he isn't or if he is, but I think it'll be totally interesting to watch him go out there. Like, yeah, we're going to give you, try to run your best stuff with these 2s and 3s that we got out there and see if you get it done.
Right. And right now, Kevin Stefanski doesn't, he's got nothing to do with the defense, I'm sure.
Nah.
Jim Schwartz is the head coach of the defense. Kevin Stefanski loves, that's what a lot of coaches like these days. They want to have their unit.
That's what I said
You
about
know,
Kyle
Shanahan
Shanahan.
doesn't-
Kyle don't go
Shanahan
down
don't get
there.
involved in the defense.
I played defense. Kyle ain't never came down
Right,
there, said
exactly.
nothing to the defense.
It's so funny, man, because like this is where I love Kevin Stefanski. I think he's a great leader of men. I think he just exhibits great leadership. When I was a supervisor for the city of Cleveland, one of the things that I learned in training was the art of delegation, right? You train up your people, you put the right people in place, and then you delegate so you can focus on what your primary job is.
Yeah.
When I first got promoted, I was doing the same things that I was doing that got me the promotion. You know, trying to outwork everybody, this, that, and the third. But my obligations changed when I became a leader. We seen Kevin Stefanski grow this past offseason as a leader, right? You seen him look at his coaching staff, realize Joe Woods ain't it, Mike Prefer ain't it. I need to make some serious upgrades so that I can delegate to men that I trust so I can focus on the overall landscape of this football team. And I think so much with Kevin Stefanski is hung up on the X's and O's that people don't forget is more to being a great head coach or a good head coach even to that. You got to be a leader of men. You got to be organized. You got to know how to put people in the right situations to have success. And he's done a better job of that.
And the players love him.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
This year, I think this year what happened was he realized what you're saying is right. You know, with a lot of great offensive minds, the thing about a great offensive coach is some of the best offensive coaches I've been around don't really know how to handle defense. So that's why they go get some of the best defensive guys minded-wise and say, you run defense. You do your thing over there. I don't really want to be bothered with that. I trust you to get it done.
Right.
So I can focus on this offense. Same thing with Kyle Shanahan. I don't really know too much about that defense or what you running over there, but do your thing. And I think Kevin finally got that with Jim Schwartz. Was like, I trust Jim. Jim's going to get it done. Anything that happens, it's Jim's defense. He knows how to make the checks and adjustments. It'll get corrected like that, which we see a lot of the times.
Right.
And the next step he took was, I want this team to become closer. I want to build it as a family atmosphere because, like I say, that when you do it for somebody outside of yourself, you tend to do it, you go harder because it's like, I don't want to let my teammate down.
Sure.
And I think for him, he's been so buttoned up and been so Bill Belichick where he don't let nobody in, media, nobody. And I think this was the first year he started opening up a little bit. And once they went to Greenbrier and they spent more time around the team, I don't think he did it on purpose. I think it accidentally happened where he started really connecting with guys. He started really learning about them, getting to know about these guys, and he opened his heart up. It's accidental, but you spend time with somebody, it's like a relationship. The more time you spend with somebody, the more you open up to them. And he's become to the point where it's like, I love these guys. Like, I'm about to go out there and do everything I can.
He's shown a little emotion.
Exactly.
Not too much.
He's fired up on the sidelines.
Right.
He's cussing referees out.
Right.
He's speaking more in the media.
I do think he maintains, he doesn't lose his mind.
No, it's not over the top.
He's even
Yeah,
keeled.
That's
even
important.
Yeah.
But he definitely has loosened up a little bit, and that's good.
Jonathan Peterlin, right? He told this story Sunday. When you talk about the development of relationships with the players, he talked about David Njoku in 2020 when Kevin Stefanski first got here. It's not like he said, I'm not going to say they hated each other, but it was a major disconnect there. You fast forward to where they are now, and these dudes, like, they're bonded, right?
Yeah.
The communication is there. The relationship is healthy. We've had a few Cleveland Browns players on our show in different ways over the last couple of weeks, and they've all said the same thing. They talked about the team chemistry. They talked about this brotherhood, this bond, and going to war for each other, or just being there for each other and blocking out the outside noise. And I think that's attributed to what Kevin Stefanski has done. And so you're absolutely right. Those relationships matter. And the healthier the relationship is, it's kind of like us. We all got healthy relationships despite what the public think when the cameras is off.
Yeah, I just found out today. I just found out today, in fact, before the show, that I can't remember how it started, but I said, I bet a lot of the audience thinks I hate Jay, which I don't, but he and I argue a lot. And both Mike and Earl told me that they've both been asked, do I hate them? And I thought, that's crazy.
I had Thanksgiving at this man's house.
Well, boy,
I love you guys.
Boy, nobody's ever asked if you hated me.
No, we get along all the time. But I can't believe people would think I hate you, and I can't believe people would think I hate you. I love you guys. Even Jay, who I argue with way more
than us.
way more than you guys. I don't hate Jay at all. I love to argue with him. I love to needle him. He loves to needle me. I love it. I have never hated anybody that I've been on a show with. Anybody.
Except Steve.
No, I love Steve.
That's between them two. But the point is, man, you can look at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and then you can look at the Cleveland Browns, and you can see some similarities
Steve,
of how
get it off
those
of me.
relationships
That's right.
kind of help build this
That's
thing
right.
and build this
That's
momentum
right, Earl.
and keep us pushing forward. And that's why how they're going to win the Super Bowl. That's why we're going to be here for a long time.
That's right.
Before we move on to our
what's
next
going on.
topic, Bobby G sent me his top 4 if he was voting in as a committee.
Yeah.
And I want to just give you his top 4 real quick. We'll spend a minute on this. But do you agree, disagree, think he's close or way off? This is Bobby G from Game Times. Top 4 if we were voting playoff committee.
Yeah.
Number 1, Ravens. Number 2, Browns. Number 3, Lions. Number 4, 49ers. With the Bills and Eagles at 5 and 6.
I think, we forgot about the Bills, because the Bills are playing great. I know they didn't beat the Chargers by a lot, but they look, I'm actually, I would actually, the Browns play anybody in the playoffs rather than the Bills. That's the last team I want them to play.
Man, ever since Sean McDermott dropped the ball, boy, they done picked it up and been rolling.
You guys agree with that? The
What?
Bills are the last
Bills.
team
I don't want to play.
I don't want to play the Bills.
Yeah, I don't wanna play the
it took me a while, like Mike said earlier.
Yeah.
I'd rather be late to the party than not show up.
Yeah.
it took me a minute to come around to like, okay, I don't want to play Buffalo right now.
Yeah.
Anybody else in the AFC, I think I'm okay playing. I don't want to play Miami in Miami. They might put you on that sideline when it's 30 degrees hotter. But everybody else, man, it's fair game. Bring them.
Although, interestingly, with the Dolphins, Jalen Waddle got hurt.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
And then Tyreek is still dealing with the ankle.
Yeah, but he's playing. I mean, he's
Yeah.
not. By the time the Browns would play them, he's probably okay. But to not, because it's not like they're deep. They have those two guys who are great.
That's
Do we
it.
know how long Waddle's out?
What's that?
Have
They
we seen
didn't
any
say.
update on how long Waddle?
I thought I
is?
read that he might be done for the season. I could maybe.
It's
I'm
like
not-
a high ankle sprain, right?
I don't know.
What's
I don't
that,
know what
Tyvis?
it
4 to
was.
6?
Something like that.
That's 4 to 6.
I'll look into it.
I mean, listen, you could put the Browns wherever you want. I mean, I think overall, like, it's funny when it comes to the Browns
He
versus
said the
Niners.
Browns was 2.
Bobby
Well,
G
here's
has
the
Browns
thing.
at
It's
2.
like college football playoff committee. What's more important, the head-to-head? Obviously, the Browns won that game. Overall, I think it's fair to argue the Niners have played a little better than the Browns this year. Overall, as a more balanced, they've won more decisively more often. But, yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for the Browns to be as
Yeah,
high
I mean,
as 2,
I
sure.
don't think it's absurd. I
It's
would
not.
have them at 2 personally, but I don't think it's an absurd argument to make.
I think the more I think about it, I'd have the Browns probably 4 or 5.
I got them 3. I would go Baltimore, San Francisco, Cleveland, Buffalo. I would leave Detroit out. Detroit won last week, but over the last 5 weeks, they've been kind of shaky.
They dropped. They almost blew the game.
Dallas
but they
can't
did.
win on the road.
Yeah.
Kansas City, they a dumpster fire right now.
They can't.
They're a mess.
Yeah, so it's like
They lost the game, and Aiden O'Connell completed 6 passes in the first
Yeah.
quarter. Went on to complete not another
I
pass
know,
for the
it's
rest of the
bizarre.
game, and they won.
And by the way, speaking of the AFC North, real quick, how about the beatdown the Steelers put on the Bengals?
I feel bad for you. I feel bad
Speaking
for
of
you.
dumpster fire
Go ahead.
and decisive things, this next question we're going to ask, I'm going to put in the poll.
Yeah.
And I'm beyond curious how the chat is going to respond to this. I'm going to throw fuel on the fire here. But first,
Oh my
as the weather gets colder, the
we
NFL
go.
offers stay red hot on FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is simple to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Little backstory, G. Bush was